Manmohan Singh and Narendra Modi, bitter political rivals otherwise, on the same stage in Gujarat. One man has brought them together, India's first Home Minister, Sardar Patel. And some would say it is Sardar versus Sardar in competition for the legacy of the original Sardar today in Gujarat. The BJP says that the Congress had all but forgotten Sardar Patel. He's been resurrected by Narendra Modi, who's of course building a statue of unity to commemorate him. The Congress is fighting back, saying that the BJP is trying to appropriate a Congress symbol and one of the tallest leaders of the Congress. Where does the truth lie? And do the architects of the modern Indian nation belong to any one political party? Joining us now, Shashi Tharoor, Minister in the UPA government. And with me in the studio is senior leader of the BJP and columnist and commentator Seshadri Chari. Shashi Tharoor, if I may start with you first. As somebody who has been a biographer of Jawaharlal Nehru, you have tried to clarify repeatedly that that does not make you hostile to Sardar Patel. Yet in your own writings and in one column that you wrote in 2004, you actually conceded that the way that Jawaharlal Nehru and Sardar Patel looked upon the issue of how India's minorities should be treated was very different. If indeed there is this ideological difference, if indeed, as you argue in your writings, that Sardar Patel was somewhat suspicious of Muslim bureaucrats, for example, after partition, and he expected them to constantly prove their loyalty, why then is the Congress today trying to appropriate Sardar Patel? Because the Congress could then argue that Sardar Patel does not exactly sit at peace with your and the party's ideology of secularism.
No, I think Sardar Patel was above all of this a Gandhian, and the way in which he conducted himself in practice on the issue of the minorities has been very different from the way in which, for example, Mr. Modi conducted himself in Gujarat in 2002. Sardar Patel was the Home Minister when there was serious violence and rioting in Delhi in the aftermath of partition. And his attitude was to protect the victims. He actually managed to put 10,000 of them in the Red Fort to save them from rioters, because he was afraid that the local security forces might be infected by communal passions. He got the army to move units from Pune and from Madras in order to protect the Muslims in Delhi. He managed to go to Amritsar and persuade people not to attack refugees leaving India to go to Pakistan, but to give them safe passage. He showed his support for a united, secular, pluralist India by actually going to Nizamuddin and praying, participating in the rituals there, yes, in order to show that Muslims continue to have a valid place in democratic India. All this is very different from the kind of Patel that the Modi acolytes are trying to advocate. We cherish Patel the Gandhian, even if there was a difference of opinion on certain aspects of minority treatment between him and Nehru.
Okay, I will come back to you on how grave that difference was between Nehru and Patel. But to Seshadri Chari, my question would be this. You would remember one of your most senior leaders, Jaswant Singh. Jaswant Singh being expelled or losing his long-standing membership of the party. He's now, of course, come back after his book on Jinnah. The problem was not just what Jaswant Singh said on Jinnah. The problem was also what the party felt Jaswant Singh had said about Sardar Patel. To which Jaswant Singh said, why is Sardar Patel considered core to the BJP? This is what Jaswant Singh is saying at that time. Why is Sardar Patel considered core to the BJP? He's the one who banned the RSS. If you look at him as someone who did ban the RSS, which is indisputable, why does the Sangh today want to appropriate the same Sardar?
No, banning the RSS or looking at a communal issue was not the only aspects of Sardar Patel. Our reverence for Sardar Patel should not be taken as our irreverence for either Nehru or Gandhi for that matter. RSS holds Gandhi, Nehru and even Subhash Chandra Bose or Savarkar or Sardar Patel are all on equal footing. Each one had a different aspect.
You respect Sardar Patel as much as you respect Jawaharlal Nehru?
To a very large extent, I would say yes. I am not against Nehru. RSS is also not against Nehru. But what happened was there were serious differences between Sardar Patel's approach and Nehru's approach. These differences were pertaining to the integration of the country post-partition, post-47, in which Sardar Patel had serious differences. Even on governance issue, Nehru wanted the Prime Minister to be more powerful than all the ministers put together. Sardar Patel said this will make the Prime Minister almost a dictator, and both wrote to Mahatma Gandhi to such an extent that Nehru even wrote a letter to Gandhi saying that either he should go or I should quit. These are the words that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru has used to Gandhi. Of course, Gandhi has not replied to that letter. There is no record of this. But anyway, it was Mahatma Gandhi who prevailed upon Sardar Patel not to contest against Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as far as the Prime Minister's post was concerned.
Yes.
In hindsight, probably people we feel that probably, I mean Sardar Patel died in 1950. So probably after 50 we would have again gone back to Nehru. So many other factors are there.
Okay, but let me ask you something. If you say that you respect all of these nation builders of India, then why is Narendra Modi's Statue of Unity commemorated to one man, Sardar Patel, and not to this plethora or this pantheon of India's modern architects?
I think if Narendra Modi had been the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, God forbid, maybe we would have probably put up a statue of V. Swaminath Iyer or V.O. Chidambaram Pillai or K. Kamaraj or whoever it is. I mean, the way the Congress party has appropriated Nehru and Gandhi, and not only that, we have right from a newspaper stall to Jawaharlal Nehru port in Mumbai.
Yes.
Everything is either Nehru, Gandhi or Indira Gandhi.
So you feel that Patel was a forgotten icon?
Not only Patel,
Yeah.
I would rather extend this even to
Ambedkar.
Shastri, Ambedkar,
Yeah.
even P.V. Narasimha Rao. P.V. Narasimha Rao is the only Congress Prime Minister of this country who doesn't have his own Shakti Sthal and other Sthal in Delhi.
Let me take this to Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor, there is a sense that the Congress's sudden interest in Sardar Patel has much to do with the fact that he was a forgotten point of reference for the Congress's political imagination till Narendra Modi in fact resurrected him. This is manifested, the critics would say, in several aspects, not least being how much advertisement money or how much money is spent by the government on ads. And let me just take you through these figures. These are the figures for 2013 according to the Times of India. For Rajiv Gandhi, to commemorate Rajiv Gandhi, 25.4 crores. To commemorate B.R. Ambedkar, 17.9 crore rupees. To commemorate Indira Gandhi, 16.9 crore rupees. To commemorate Nehru, a little over 10 crores. The government spent 8.6 crores to observe the birth or death anniversaries of Sardar Patel. So he's clearly at the bottom of that political totem pole. Also take, Shashi, if you will, when Sardar Patel was given the Bharat Ratna. Jawaharlal Nehru was given the Bharat Ratna in 1955, Indira Gandhi in 1971, Rajiv Gandhi in 1991, just before Sardar Patel gets it. So the sense is the Congress has woken up to Sardar Patel only because the BJP has.
No, I would say that frankly the circumstances are that we lost Sardar Patel very early in the life of independent India. We lost him in 1950. And inevitably people who continued for longer and later surface closer in our consciousness. When you say Rajiv Gandhi has so much money spent on him, he was the most recent of these people to lose his life in the service of our nation. Whereas you yourself pointed out with your numbers that Mr. Ambedkar has much more money spent on him than Mr. Nehru did. Obviously because Mr. Ambedkar's legacy in some ways continues to have a certain political resonance. I just want to stress that one should not draw too much into things like how many crores are spent on what ad or the other. Sardar Patel is deeply respected in our party. I want to stress again, as did Mr. Chari, that though you asked only about the communal issue, for us, Sardar Patel is the apostle of Indian unity. His abiding legacy to India is what he did to merge the 625 princely states into the Indian Union, the way in which he managed the integration of Hyderabad, the way in which he managed the integration of Junagadh, the way in which he prevented Lakshadweep from leaving us. All these things were done with an extraordinary capacity that we should also honor. Just the Indian Union is a legacy of Sardar Patel's extraordinary competence as Home Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. So I don't want you to read too much into some money here or there. This project that is the Prime Minister speaking at today was actually shepherded by a union minister from the UPA government. Mr. Modi is a guest, it is not his project. I mean,
his
I don't want
project
to
comes
be
2 days
offensive
later.
about
His
it.
project also comes 2 days later, the
project-
Statue of Unity, which a number of your ministers,
his
for
project
example,
was
Anand Sharma, who was invited, has today released a letter saying he will not attend this because he believes that the Sardar Patel that Modi wants to appropriate is not the Sardar Patel of the Congress. What's the difference?
Well, as I was explaining to you, it looks as if what the BJP wants to honor is a man whom they see as embodying the kinds of virtues that they claim today to embody, including a certain attitude towards the minorities of our country, which, as I've explained earlier, is a travesty and a misrepresentation of Sardar Patel's actual conduct. What they overlook completely is that Sardar Patel was also a Gandhian, which Mr. Modi is not. And as far as Sardar Patel's attitude to the minorities was concerned, he was not alone in fearing in 47, 48, 49 that an entire community had seceded rather than only a segment of that community. So some of the views he expressed at that time reflected that. Had God allowed him to live longer, I'm sure he would have had a much more mainstream Congress view of the communal question. In 1950, in fact, we had the Nehru-Liaquat Pact.
Yes.
That was a time when the people who founded the Jansangh left the cabinet. Patel actually supported Nehruji on the pure Gandhian principle that because there had been attacks on Muslims in West Bengal, India had lost the moral right to criticize Pakistan for the treatment of Hindus in East Pakistan.
But that support,
now, that was a
but
very
that support,
Gandhian
Mr.
principle,
Tharoor,
moral
that support,
principle.
Mr. Tharoor, for the Nehru-Liaquat Pact did not come without protests from Sardar Patel initially.
Absolutely.
He fell in line eventually, but not before Nehru came close to challenging Patel, if I'm not wrong on my history, to a public
Correct.
debate on the Pakistan policy.
Absolutely, and there is no question that they did have disagreements, but in the end, Patel supported Nehru. Mr. Chari cites a letter from Nehru.
Yes.
Let me cite a letter from Patel to Nehru in which he said, our combination is unbreakable and that is our greatest strength. So they may have emotionally and intellectually disagreed with each other from time to time, but fundamentally they were united right till the end.
See, there were a lot of disagreements between Patel and Nehru, but
Sure.
most of the last letter that Mr. Tharoor points out is after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. After that, Patel mellowed down a lot. In fact, Patel was an ardent critic of Article 370. So much so that he pointed out that the entire Congress Working Committee is against 370. So how can we ever do this? But to that, it was pointed out that Nehru was not in India, he was out of India, and at such a time, when the Prime Minister or whoever was the prime mover of this bill was out of India, it would be wrong to assume that we are opposing this bill. So either we do not take up this bill now or we pass it as it is because it is going to be temporary. So it was Patel who virtually, although he opposed 370 as a temporary provision, much later came around and said that I will accept it only because it is temporary, number one. Number two, only because the prime mover of this bill, Mr. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, is not in India and we should not do injustice
but let me
to
read
him.
out to you what
Number one. Number
Wait,
two,
wait,
again on the issue of communal issue also, there were serious differences. So much so that when H.V.R. Iyengar was to be sent to Ajmer to look into the happenings in Ajmer, Patel protested. He said, this is under my domain. Why is H.V.R. Iyengar going there?
Okay, I had a question.
That was a bureaucratic issue. Barka, can I?
Yes. Yes, Shashi.
Barka, I do need to. The point that Mr. Chari makes about the way in which the Nehru and Patel may have disagreed. Whenever Nehru was out of the country, Patel was actually acting Prime Minister. He was given that title of acting Prime Minister. He did the integration of Hyderabad as acting Prime Minister. The fact is that the two of them were on the same page. And what Mr. Chari says actually confirms the argument that they were of the same view, because as acting Prime Minister, Patel had full authority to repudiate Nehru's position, but chose not to do so. It confirms that they were fundamentally of the same view on the key issues.
There is hardly any disagreement as far as these facts are concerned. But the question today is, why is the Congress so upset after having forgotten Patel for all these years, only because Modi is resurrecting Patel? I mean, how are they going to react when we resurrect? Modi also referred to Lal Bahadur Shastri.
Shashi Tharoor, there is a perception.
I think you should definitely
there is a
resurrect
perception that the history writers, or the Nehruvian prism of seeing contemporary India has actually focused so much on Nehru and yes, of course, Mahatma Gandhi, and all the other modern architects have in a sense been forgotten. Point one. Point two, when a number of Congress leaders today say that Sardar Patel was a congressman, do the national leaders of India belong to any one political party? And I ask this because let's take Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose left the Congress. He created the Forward Bloc. Today, does the Forward Bloc own Subhash Chandra Bose? Does the Congress party own a piece of him? Or does all of India own him?
Any historical figure is owned by the entire nation, and that's particularly true of those involved with the nationalist movement. No question about that. We don't deny Mr. Chari's right to admire Nehruji, as he has very kindly said he does, and we certainly would not want anyone to feel that we are keeping Sardar Patel away from anybody else. Everyone is entitled to admire our nationalist heroes. But the fact is that Sardar Patel was an extraordinarily important element of the consensus on values that the Congress as a political party embodies, not just as a nationalist movement, but as a political party. The Congress has stayed true to professions of secularism, pluralism and democracy, which is extremely important for our way.
Do you believe Sardar, do you, Shashi Tharoor, a student of history and a commentator before you were a politician, do you see Sardar Patel as secular? And I ask you this because in your article of April 25th, 2004, that is before me, you write saying temperamentally the Sardar was more inclined to draw the conclusion from partition that an entire community had in fact seceded. He once suggested in 1948 that if Hindus were expelled from Pakistan, an equal number of Muslims should be expelled from India, an idea which appalled Nehru, who slapped it down immediately. Therefore, do you see Sardar Patel as secular?
You see, at that point, one has to make allowances for the temper of the times. There was an extraordinary situation in the country when people speaking in the name of a particular community had divided the country. Patel, in that sense, did see the entire community as having left, but he was coming around, as I gave a number of examples of practical conduct on his part that affirmed the rights of Muslims in India, including in Delhi, where he was actively involved in protecting them. I would say that with time, he would certainly have subscribed to exactly the same consensus that the country has lived with for 66 years since. But the fact is that Mr. Modi, I believe, does not. And therefore, when people who are like Mr. Chari praising a man like Savarkar claim to praise Patel in the same breath, they are really trying to mishmash different kinds of attitudes which, in our view, ought to be kept firmly separate. Mr. Patel would have had no patience for Mr. Savarkar's brand of Hindutva ideology, and I think it's completely wrong to assimilate the two or appropriate one as an icon of a tendency that incorporates the other.
Do you see a competition between the Congress and the BJP to appropriate Sardar Patel? And why is he, I want to understand, so politically important to the BJP? He was the original Iron Man. Then that Loh Purush was an adjective that was used for L.K. Advani. Now, whether Advani and Modi are on the opposite sides of the trenches or not, Modi also sees himself as the inheritor of the Sardar Patel political imagination, not the Nehruvian one. So clearly there is a difference.
See, these leaders represent certain qualities. They are emulated for certain aspects of
Why
their
is
life.
Sardar Patel so important to the BJP?
Sardar Patel, because he was the one who merged this whole country, 640 odd
states
together. Except for one state which was handled directly by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and that was Jammu and Kashmir, which is festering wound even till today. And I am sure, had even that been handed over to Sardar Patel, he would have solved it in a best possible manner. Probably he wouldn't have left that legacy of Jammu Kashmir for us to solve now.
Shashi Tharoor, the fact of the matter is, last comments from both of you, that I have never seen the Congress talking this much about Sardar Patel till Narendra Modi's Statue of Unity project.
Sardar Patel died in 1950, Barkha. You folks have brought him into the news again, and we have an opportunity to talk about him. It doesn't mean we didn't respect him earlier. It didn't mean that some reference was made to the large number of institutions named for Nehrus and Gandhis. There are also a large number of institutions named for Sardar Patel. You can look up Wikipedia or Google them. There are plenty. There are more than 80 in our country named for Sardar Patel. We respect him, but he's not been a talking
as against 800, he says, for one family.
Mr.
Chari says it's against 800 for one family.
I have no complaints as far as that. I don't think somebody is great only because of names.
Prime ministers. Yeah.
See, I don't think that somebody is great only because some institutions are named and some roads are named. We have got as many Mahatma Gandhi roads in this country, as many gullies are there. So that's not the issue. The issue is, it's a fact that the media as well as the congressmen are all worked up about Sardar Patel, and the only fear that they are expressing is, why are you appropriating Sardar Patel? I mean, it's not the question
So
of
can we have both of you
appropriating.
agree? Can we have both of you agree that Sardar Patel does not belong to either of your parties? That he belongs to India's legacy?
I don't
or to
agree.
India's citizenry?
I think he's both an embodiment of a major part of India's legacy, a towering giant of the independence years, but at the same time, he is an iconic figure of our party, and I don't think that there is any contradiction between those two.
Mr. Chari, have to end, but I'll give you a last
Sardar
word.
Patel is an iconic figure, no doubt about it. There is no comparison between the BJP's appropriating Sardar Patel and Congress appropriating Sardar Patel. If the Congress comes around to accept Sardar Patel as a big hero, we will be only glad because Narendra Modi brought him into the mainstream of Indian political discourse today.
Okay.
And the Congress should thank us for that.
We'll leave it there. Seshadri, Chari, Shashi, Tharoor, thanks so much for joining us. It's Sardar versus Sardar, metaphorically speaking, of course, in Gujarat.